If you've read the story of the Exodus, you will know that the people of Israel in the wilderness were, let's say, easily dissatisfied and eager to share those feelings. One episode comes to mind from Exodus 16. The whole Israelite community complained against Moses and his brother Aaron in the desert. The Israelites said to them, and I'm giving my dramatic emphasis here, "Oh, how we wish that the Lord had just put us to death while we were still in the land of Egypt. There we could sit by the pots cooking meat and eat our fill of bread. Instead, you've brought us out into this desert to starve this whole assembly to death." The difficulties, the challenges they were encountering in freedom were prompting them to say they wished they were back in comfort and slavery. Because it is always easier to long for the meat pots of Egypt when we have not yet reached the promised land. It is always easier to long for the comforts of what was or what we knew, even if what was or what we knew was not good for us, when we do not yet know how God's goodness will be revealed up ahead or even in the present. It is always easier to fall back into old habits and old addictions and old ways of doing and being than it is to experience the discomfort and the uncertainty in the crucible of becoming mature, of being formed in faithfulness and love and humility and the ways of justice and righteousness. What would you say if I were to ask you, what is your promised land? What is it you're longing for? The signs of flourishing that you're looking for? What is the place God has called you to go? The journey God has you on, the work God has set before you? Because I'm going to just tell you right now, 2021 is not the promised land. This year will be all sorts of things, but perfect is not one of them. Now, I pray that you and I and all of humankind will experience joy and love and hope. I pray that we will see prayers answered and the arc of the moral universe bend a little more toward justice. I pray that we will see a deepening of our relationships and our rhythms and our lives. I pray that the H Street neighborhood and Rosedale and wherever you call home will be permeated by the presence of God, and we will experience the power of Jubilee and God's liberation. I long for those things, and I will work for those things. But I know that we will also experience sorrows and disappointments this year, that we will face hardships and losses this year, that there will be things we will grieve and lament this year, whether in the causes we fight for or the change we seek in ourselves and our families and our city. This year, in and of itself, is not the promised land. But what is for you? The invitation of God is to experience the life of God through Jesus and the justice and grace and holiness and purpose that comes with that life. As we become more aware and attuned and submitted to the Spirit of God in us and around us, forming us more in the likeness of Christ for the sake of the world, bursting forth in the fruit of the Spirit of love and joy and peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. The invitation of God is for you to sink deep into the love of God as revealed in Jesus so that you might love others better, serve more faithfully in your neighborhood or your workplace or your family as an ambassador of the kingdom of justice and shalom. That's where abundance is, my friends. That's where flourishing is. And so, church, let us be strong and courageous. Let us stand firm in resolve and determination. Let us press on. Let us not go back to the days before our eyes were open to just how unjust our society really is. As the pandemic's effects have been so disproportionately loaded onto the backs of our Black and brown siblings, or as we honor the memories of so many lives lost this year, whether to COVID or to racism and white supremacy or selfish greed and a lust for power. For us as a church, this last year was full. From the transition that had Matthew and I swapping roles to announcing and navigating a posture of full inclusion around sexuality, to pressing even deeper into matters of racial justice and pursuing that within our body, in our own integrity as a church. And all of this during COVID, with online gatherings and physical distancing and social isolation, and then the political exhaustion of the general election. So much of what we went through was hard and challenging as a church. But I wouldn't trade what we went through as a church, because we were where God wanted us to be. We were following where God wanted us to go, and we were trying to be faithful to who God wanted us to become as individuals and as a community. And so let us not just long for what was, but let us look with hope to what is and what will be. Let us be strong and courageous. Why? For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. God is with us in it all.